Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military, veterans, and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. Hi, my name is Daniel Faust, and guess what I did? I put the wrong scene up. So let's see if I can switch that real quick. Don't you love lives? Right there we go. Living room, because that's what we're talking about this week. Bam, right there and then. So welcome to the living room. The good thing about a green screen is you can change your life real quick. That's pretty awesome. So this week, we're talking about living room operations and how to be authentic in the living room. This is not an authentic living room, but your life needs to be authentic in the living room. And what we're going to be talking about is specifically about you first. And what do I mean by that? I want to mention some words and see if you resonate with them. Disconnection, arguments, surface conversations. Is this your relationship with your kids or kid? And what do we typically do when we have that? And when does this happen? This usually happens when they hit puberty, typically. We have great relationships with our kids when they're young. It's a little over energy and everything else. And then they have puberty. And as some people say, this part of the brain goes away and then gets put back on 5 to 10 years later. So we have that disconnection. We have those arguments. We have that surface conversation. I just had a daughter today that turned 12, and we're going to have cupcakes in about a half hour. And my son's 13, and my daughters are 10, and they're going to be 11. So if you're not registered in this space, that's okay. But I know I am, and I know a lot of you are, so I wanted to go over and share this. So what do we do typically when we run into this situation? We have some strategies that we do as Americans, especially as military, veterans, and first responders, because we even have less time to go over and to deal. And what do we typically do? We avoid. We be like, I'll just go over and push away. I'll just not deal with the situation. I'll wait for things to cool off, especially in arguments or surface conversations. Sometimes we just get into the argument, especially I'd say as men, women too, but I can't speak from the woman experience, but I know I tend to, like, when arguments come up, I get up and I go argue because I'm a great arguer. I've been arguing since I was a teen. So I have 20 more years experience. So let me go put those verbal fisticuffs up. Maybe we force ourselves in a place that we're not meant to be. Maybe we put ourselves in a relationship, be that awkward parent, trying to go hang out with them when they're not wanting to be hung out with and things of nature. Or maybe we just mentally or emotionally abandon and we just wait for those 3 to 7 years. And we kind of be aloof and we're kind of, transactional parents, but not relational parents. Or maybe we're just going over and like, they'll grow out of it. We'll just go over and wait and wait and wait and wait. But what happens is typically is if we do that, especially in their teen years, and I'm rolling into it right now, and I saw it for myself being a kid, and I've seen it for so many other people, is that then we have this disconnected arguments, surface conversation, awkwardness as we get older. So they get into their 20s and 30s and 40s, and we have this awkward conversations, and then they get married, and then we're like, we want to be connected because now there's grandkids, but we didn't go over and do it right. And how do we go over and avoid that? So I wanted to go over and talk about that because I'm seeing this stuff now and I could see the stepping stones, just like when throwing a pebble in the water, the ripple effects. And I don't want it to happen with my relationships. And I definitely don't want to happen with your relationships. So let's talk about some you first strategies, because at the end of the day, in the living room, who's the example first? We are as parents. So we have to take the you first there. So we're going to talk about this from 3 different perspectives this week. And today is about the you first strategies and the you first perspective, because being authentic in the living room to have those relationships that go over and thrive, we need to take it as a you first way of life. So let's get into it. And again, this is always a conversation. So you want to put in the comments, go over and ask questions, share stories of this type of stuff. Maybe we're way off and just want to hear a difference of opinion. Hey, let's go over and deliver, because we want to help you all grow, and we want to grow too, because, we're not the subject matter experts, but we're hoping to go over and to deliver the wisdom that we're learning, and then you learn, and then we all grow together in our transformation from war hero to superhero. So let's go jump into the you first strategies that we developed. The first one is getting a bachelor's degree. If you ever watched War Hero to Superhero, we talk about getting a doctorate degree in your spouse, getting a bachelor's degree in your kids, and getting an associate's degree at your work and with your coworkers. You spend more life in your home, especially now with COVID, than anything else. And the thing was, before that, we kind of did it backwards. We got the doctorate degree at work, which carried a long time, didn't it? And then we went over and got we still got somewhat of a bachelor's degree with the kids, but we kind of did an associate's GED with our spouses. So in this particular realm of getting a bachelor's degree is learning and to understand your kids so you can go over and connect. What do they look like mentally? What do they look like emotionally? What do they look like socially? What do they look like spiritually? When is their good days? When is their bad days? What do they truly like? What are they passionate about? We really need to learn to get to know them, to have that authenticity in life so we can go over and share the wisdom. So what degree do you have in each of your kids? I can tell you right now, it's like I'm pursuing a bachelor's degree with my oldest. With my middle child, it's in between. It depends on the day. The two younger ones, I'd say I'm closer towards the bachelor's degree, but it's going to be an ever-evolving thing. If you've ever been involved in education, does your degree ever stick for life? No. So you'll have to, even if you got your initial bachelor's degree with your kids and you thought you knew them, you might need to do continuing education units in a sense of learning more, diving in more, doing more homework, being observant and breaking out those eyes, reading some books, listening to some podcasts, even going over and joining us if you want to go over and to learn. So that's number one. Number two is share your failures. How do you go over and be authentic? Go over and connect. We don't want them to always worship us. In our War Hero to Superhero transformation is becoming who you really are. And being authentic in the living room is being who you really are in that transformation. So kids can't go over and relate if we're always just giving platitudes and lessons and wisdom, and we don't go over and share those failures. So we need to share those big and small failures that we have at work, that we have in life, that we had in the past, and go over and look at our lives and say, when I was 13 years old, where was I? Because it's an awkward situation, girl or boy. We're in this awkward emotional stage. Hair's growing in places. Emotions are everywhere. We are challenging things. We're doing things, kind of feeling things out instead of thinking things out. And we had those failures too. So we need to share with them so they can go over and relate. So as we be authentic, they can be authentic. And we have to balance out also what's disciplinable and what's not. Sometimes that failure might be just because they never walked through it before. That doesn't mean we always have to be the super parent to go always discipline. A really good book to read if you want to learn more about the sharing your failures is The Cure in Parents. It's a really fantastic book by John Lynch. I would highly go recommend it. Number three is being real. How do we go over and do that? Again, not just sharing about our failures, sharing about our feelings. When they're young kids, they might not be able to handle everything about your emotions and your feelings and what you really are and what you're struggling with. But as they get older, especially in the teen years, they're going to be walking into adulthood. Do you really want them figuring out how to go over and to date, how to go over and to get married, how to go over and deal with arguments from to going in first round, living with somebody or going over and getting married with somebody? Most of the times, we walk into divorce as couples because we didn't have good examples that was being authentic, being real, sharing failures in that particular realm. So we had to live and then learn. And that's why we fail in a lot of things. When we have to live and learn, it's sometimes a good lesson, but most of the time it's not. So we need to go over and be real and share parts of our lives to go over and see. Now, obviously, consent needs to be. So if you're definitely going to share bedroom stuff with the kids so they can learn how to be a good husband and good wife, you want to make sure that your husband and or wife is on board on being real. You don't want to be sharing something super vulnerable and your spouse doesn't know that you're sharing that with your kids. So make sure you have that bedroom ops planning meeting as you're planning to go be real. What subjects are okay and what subjects are not? And if worst case scenario, you put yourself on the radar and you be real, but don't share the realness of your husband or wife unless your husband or wife is okay on sharing that. But being real is key to go over and to doing that. And we need to be that first person. So all these things is us as parents. And if you're not watching with your significant other, then it's you as parent to go over and to adopt that. Number 4, one of the most powerful ones outside of understanding personality style is learning their love language. Are they physical touch? Are they words of affirmation? Are they quality time? Are they acts of service or gifts? What order is that? So we can go love on them. Dr. Gary Chapman writes great books on there, and he has the 5 love languages, and he has it for teens, and he has it for kids. So depending on where you are in the stage of parenting, maybe you have both. A lot more people now are blended, and they have families that they had kids younger and later. I know couples that are about to have a baby now, and they have young tweens, and they have an adult child. So grab the book that's best for you for the love language to contextualize that. And especially our military folks, there is a military 5 love languages book. It's designed a little bit differently, and it's contextualized to the military and how do you apply it on deployments, TDYs, divided parenting, things of that nature. I would highly go recommend in reading that. And if you have read it, refresh yourself, because we assume we know everything. I think that's our culture, including myself. I have to refresh myself on a regular basis. Do I really know what acts of service looks like to a teenage boy or girl compared to my wife? So relearn them if you haven't touched them in a while. Dr. Gary Chapman's got the great books. He's got the apps. Go over and just Google 5 love languages and start there. And if you don't like reading, there's lots of apps for audiobooks, summary books, things of that nature. Very powerful. All right, I'm going to be dating myself on this one. Have Golden Girl cheesecake. Who's watched Golden Girls? Go over and give me a thumbs up on the rating if you watched Golden Girls before, because I know I have. So Golden Girls was a 1980s, 90-ish show that was aired on TV with 4 old ladies ranging from their 50s to 80s. And they were navigating through life, like first divorce, second divorce, dating again, just old age, everything else. It was funny. I'm an old soul. But the thing that resonates most with that show is that when they had these emotional, mental, strives and problems, they would usually get up in the middle of the night, majority of the time, and they would be eating cheesecake and ice cream while discussing the latest, like, hey, I'm getting back with my ex or whatever. What does that mean for us? We need to have that buffer to go over and have those Golden Girls cheesecake moments. Sometimes food, and especially sweet food, goes over and opens up the soul, opens up the heart, opens up the mind. So you might need to have that night one night and say, hey, let's stay up and have some ice cream and just chat. Or it doesn't always have to be, fatty food, but you go over and have that moment. You share it over a bowl of ice cream or a cheesecake or whatever you want to go over and do, and share those moments and be prepared that as your children get older, even though the physical stuff is starting to end, if you really are going to be involved as a parent and get that bachelor's degree, be prepared to have those Golden Girl cheesecake moments. Now you might be staying up late to help them navigate dating, help them navigate COVID. Maybe they're struggling with anxiety, depression. It's been a rough season. So have those moments to have them. Maybe it happens during the day, maybe it happens at night, but in between, have that buffer time and potentially buffer food, because a lot of people connect with food, to go over and do that. Obviously, if you're on a workout thing, you might not want to eat the cheesecake. So if my wife is listening, which she's upstairs, and my father-in-law, don't eat the cheesecake, okay? I don't want to ruin your weight loss plans. All right, so that's number 5. Number 6, visit their world. Did you know that periods are offensive to teens and tweens when they text? Do you know what YOLO means? Do you even know LOL and AWOL and everything else? We know a lot of our world And I tell my son this also to go visit my world because he wants me to share. So, but we need to visit their world. So it might be going over and learning about Minecraft, Roblox, going over and watching certain YouTube videos. What are they watching? What are they doing? When we can connect with somebody's world, they more are likely going to emotionally, spiritually, transactionally connect. Just because we're older and we think something's stupid doesn't mean that's going to be helpful in going over in that idea. You can share your opinions, but if you visit their world and learn those types of things, maybe it's even jumping into their world. You might find out. This happens with husbands and wives. When you have shared activities, you connect better. I absolutely hated ziplining with my wife, but when I visited it, I connected with her. When I understand a little bit more cooking, I connect with her. When I go over and look at the research that she's doing and listen to a conversation and actually have input, we connect better. It works the same with kids. So visit their world. Maybe it's video games, maybe it's sports, maybe it's those types of things. Maybe you can physically do the item. Maybe you just learn about it because depending on your injuries and whatnot. But whatever it is, take that time to visit. We stream 8 hours a day. I'm pretty sure we can invest just a few short minutes to go over and to visit their world. So, and number 7, and again, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just what we thought of, is be a unified front in the bedroom. If you're following this you first mentality, the biggest way to go over and to bridge that gap is to be a unified front in the bedroom. If your relationship is struggling, it's going to be very hard to have a you first mentality of learning this stuff if you're not unified. You don't want to share about failures and not be unified in these strategies. You don't want to be going over and having cheesecake moments and your spouse is like, what are you doing? I'm like, we're not, why are we buying all this extra food? You want to be a unified front. Anything that you go over and bring in the living room, you want to make sure that you're having bedroom operation conversations before that comes in. And that's going to help you a lot because now you're both working it together to go bring those connections back, to be authentic. It's very hard to have an authentic house when you have a divided house. So you want to make sure that you have a unified front on where to go. They might not agree with certain things, but supporting you. The one spouse might not be ready to be authentic in certain areas, but you want to be unified that if one spouse is jumping on board for right now to follow the strategy, at least the other one is supporting the other. We would hope that both of you would come together to be a unified front to share on these strategies in general, but you want to make sure that you're both intertwined together. So that is pretty much about it on our being authentic in the living room today, summarizing about a you first strategy, going over and implementing if you're having connections and issues on how to go connect with your kids. These are some of the strategies to go over and share. So as our superhero challenge connects to all this is we challenge you, and this is what we do in every single episode. Our superhero challenge for today is to plan what direction to go in these strategies, pick one or two, or maybe all, and when and where, and then actually play within those strategies. They're not going to be easy, especially when you get into the first 3. Having Golden Girl cheesecake moments might be really easy compared to visiting their world or sharing their failures. So you want to plan, think about the investment of time, pick one or many, whatever you feel for you, and then go over and play. So that's our challenge for today as a superhero challenge. So again, we want to thank you for joining our episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. And we also want to go over and thank our sponsors that take care of us so we can take care of you. Thanks.
Millions of men and women have served this great country. However, over 40,000 veterans sleep on the streets every night. 20 veterans commit suicide on any given day. Veterans have been left without medical services while they suffer from mental illness and addiction. They are dying alone. Join Armory Dog and the Veterans Project to help serve this forgotten community of heroes. Veterans is a place for our men and women who have served our great country, giving them a place to stay and rehabilitate in a safe and positive environment. Please help support the Veterans Project so that these men and women can get back on their feet and find their purpose for living. The Veterans Project will house 10,000 veterans, getting them off the streets, back into society, and utilizing their skills as they once used to serve our great country. Veterans Not Forgotten. Join us now.